Hello everybody and welcome to my long-awaited convention edition video. A big hello and welcome to all my new fans, all the new people and subscribers that I met at the convention. You guys are awesome and it was so cool to meet each and every one of you and have a blast in Vegas with Star Trek. So for those of you who've been living on the dark side of Remus, August 8th to the 12th had the official Creation Entertainment Las Vegas Star Trek convention. My mom and I were lucky enough to be able to get there and have a blast. Honestly, I don't even know where to begin. Every time I go to one of these conventions, particularly the ones in Vegas, it's just a step above what you always expect it to be. I have so much to break down and talk about that I've just picked a couple really big highlights that I wanted to bring up. I guess I'll start off with the biggest news, which was that it was the 20th anniversary of Deep Space Nine this year. So Creation Entertainment managed to get pretty much the entire cast, primary and secondary, from Deep Space Nine to come up and do a panel, and it was phenomenal. It was so cool to see so many of these actors coming back and talking about their experience on set. A lot of them hadn't seen each other since the very last day of shooting, whereas with Next Gen the cast is kind of like a family, also a little smaller, but and spends a lot of time together. I guess the Deep Space Nine cast has all gone in very different directions, so it was really moving to see them all back up on stage just talking and doing what they love and being with the people that they really cared about. Other news from the convention that's really awesome, if you haven't seen it already, you definitely need to check out Orange is the New Black. It's available on Netflix, and one of the main stars is our beloved Kate Mulgrew. She plays Galina Reznikov, they call her Red, and you'll understand why the moment you see her. So basically it's about the experiences of Piper Chapman, who ended up going to prison for transporting drug money. So this is taken from her memoirs and is really insightful as to her experience there. It's a great show, I'm just starting to watch it. I would recommend it to everybody. Go check it out. Super cool, you can find it on Netflix. Alongside Kate Mulgrew, who appeared on stage with William Shatner and Robert Beltran on two separate occasions, which was super awesome. Another really motivational speaker was George Takei. I'm just gonna start at the beginning here. The next Winter Olympics is set to happen in Russia. For those of you who are apparently really on the dark side of Remus, recently Russia has passed an anti-gay law where gay propaganda is banished and punishable quite heavily under the law. For those of us who are living in the 21st century and have a basic grasp on morality and ethics and freedoms, this seems absolutely ridiculous and out of place. Any kind of religious or socially conservative law would ever come into place like this. But what's been brought up is a very good question as to what are we gonna do? I was kind of stuck with this a little bit because our athletes work phenomenally hard. Phenomenal the amount of effort that they put in. So boycotting the Olympics is just not an option because then we're not supporting our athletes who have done nothing to deserve this and are doing nothing to deserve being boycotted. Option one, boycott the Olympics. We can't do that. So what kind of option does that leave us with? Well, this is why I want to talk about George Takei. When George Takei came on stage at the convention, he brought up the same ethical dilemma wherein he wanted to support the athletes, but also felt as though there was no way to support them in an environment that was homophobic, as Russia is now becoming. What he has proposed is a petition that is already massive. It's online. I'm going to post the link right here. You can sign it. It's at change.org. And the goal is actually to move the Olympics back to Vancouver because Canada loves everybody. Seriously, like, come here, we'll love you. It's just how we are. So we want to move it back to Vancouver where the infrastructure still exists from the 2010 Olympics. We have all of the Olympic Village. Everything is still in place where we are friendly and open to everyone who wants to join us. Head on over to this link here. If it's not up here, I apologize. It'll be down there because that's the way YouTube likes to run things. Go ahead and sign it. Who knows, if it gets enough support, we might actually be able to see some real change here. And really, you're watching my YouTube videos because you love Star Trek, and because you love Star Trek, you care about the future. And the future includes everybody, whether you're gay or black or, you know, like, it just seems, to the rest of us, it seems super trivial that we're still bringing up issues like this. But it's happening, it's real, and we need to do something about it. We can't just let these things continue to slide. All people who really deserve to have their shot at Olympic fame, while also being themselves, are having that right stripped from them. So head on over to change.org, find the petition, sign it. Let's make this happen, guys. Let's make this happen. So aside from that rather heavy note, the rest of the convention was wonderful, simply wonderful. I need to take this moment to thank a fan of mine named Martin. Martin, you are awesome. You know why. Martin got for me a photo with the Next Gen cast, which was everything that I wanted it to be and more. I got to thank them for coming to Calgary and just they were so nice, and it was phenomenal. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be able to see all of these people. God, it's a moving kind of day, right? All these people who really helped shape who I am, helped shape my ethics, and give me a basic understanding of social progression. They're probably the reason that I'm against Russia's policy. Well, them and my parents. My parents are pretty good people. But yes, thank you, Martin. That was wonderful. I'm gonna include the photo on my Facebook times a million. I have a picture of it, but it's not very good. I want to actually like scan it and have a proper digital copy, so I'll be doing that and putting it up very soon. So I've got a bit of a new thing going. I've got some new sections that I'm going to employ into the show. I've got about 4 or 5 of them, and each episode I'm going to try and include at least 2 or 3 of these segments. So our first segment today:
Attention, all decks.
10 Forward, Star Trek news and rumors. Now, I just had the opportunity to co-host a podcast called This Week in Trek. You can check them out. I will also post the link down below, where we talked about a whole bunch of different things, and one of the things that we brought up was Star Trek Renegades. So for those of you who haven't heard about it, Star Trek Renegades is supposed to be the next incarnation of Star Trek. So it's crowdsourced over $240,000 to get the production of this show going. Quite a few roles are being reprised by the original actors, including Admiral Paris, we have Tuvok, we have Admiral Chekhov. There are a couple other ones in there too, but those are the most notable. One thing that I thought was really cool is Grant Imahara from Mythbusters, for those of you who love Mythbusters. Who doesn't love Mythbusters? He's gonna be in it, that's gonna be cool. I, however, am really torn on it. So the premise, which is still a little bit loosely based, they haven't done all the writing for it yet, but basically there is a massive disruption in the Federation. We're talking huge. And of course, only one ship can save them. We're not sure if it's going to be the Enterprise. No idea what ship it's going to be. The idea is they're kind of throwing this mismatched, somewhat criminal group of people together as a crew on this ship, and it is their responsibility to rescue the Federation. As excited as I am to see this come to becoming a new web series for Star Trek, I'm also a little devastated. And I know we've all had our complaints about JJ's universe not reflecting Roddenberry's dream, but right off the bat, I'm kind of seeing... I mentioned this earlier in the podcast that I did, that it's a little Battlestar Galactica-y. If you actually look at the cast, and I have nothing but good things to say about all of them, they're all fantastic actors, but it's a very generic cast. They're all white and very pretty. There's the stereotypical blonde. There's going to be the hot Vulcan in a bodysuit. So I'm a little bit disappointed as far as that goes. It's gotten very Hollywood, which I think Star Trek did a good job of keeping away from for a long time. If you watch the video that they've done, one of the first captions that come up in between Tim Russ and Walter Koenig is "Not your grandfather's Star Trek." Can I get a Picard Riker facepalm on that one? Cool. I'm super, that line in and of itself scared me the most about this new series, because that's what all of us want so very badly. We want that fantastic Roddenberry vision, crew that works together, episode-based series versus kind of what we saw in Enterprise, which was this phenomenal build-up and build-up and build-up. So I think we want, you know, episodes. We want episodic stories that are light or dark and carry great value on their own as well as part of a series. Like I said, I'll give it a chance because it's Star Trek and I love Star Trek, you know that, that's why I'm here. But yeah, I do have quite a few concerns. I don't know what the big deal is about getting back to Roddenberry's version of Star Trek, because I don't know if they're worried that maybe creating something like that is going to cost them viewers, or is going to try and stick with the same generic audience. But if you remember, the only reason that Star Trek ever came back in the first place was people loved what it was about so much they started having these conventions. And the conventions is what got people back together and what got the network's attention that maybe the show had potential after all. So I think we need to stop worrying so much about this Hollywood aspect. I would be much happier with a show with crappy special effects, comparatively speaking, and a brilliant storyline than a show that's all about explosions and conspiracy and death and post-apocalyptic/apocalyptic ends for the Federation. Because it's huge. This could be huge. This could be awesome. It could be really, really cool. Or it could be catastrophic. So I wanted to bring that up and get that to your guys' attention. If you want to check it out, you can go to StarTrekRenegades.com. Like I said, they don't have a lot of information about it right now, but it's in process. And yeah, it has potential. It definitely has potential. So let's see what happens. Moving right along to the next segment. Trektacular! Science and technology news.
Please input command code.
So I have 2 really interesting bits of technology news and information. First of all, for those of you who are familiar with 3D printing, I'm sure you've heard of the MakerBot. One of the best-selling printers out there. It has the highest resolution of replicatableness, and it does the coolest things, and it's neat. But what's really cool about it is the company has actually just released a 3D scanner. So they call it the Digitizer, and basically what it does is you take an object, like say my balls, and you put my balls on the digitizer, weird, crazy, it almost reminds me of the little device that projected Leia in Star Wars. It looks like that, but it like scans all around. It gives you a 3D image, and then it sends that image information to the printer, and the printer prints you one. I mean, it's replicator status. That is cool. And think about how useful it's gonna be. How many times have you needed a paperclip, a fork, spork, one of these damn things for your headphones? Like, how often do these fall off in your bag and you just never see them again? I mean, it's phenomenal. The results and possibilities really are endless. We're starting to see that replicator technology that we've seen in Star Trek that has just blown our minds since the 60s. That's a pretty cool piece of technology news. Second piece of technology news that I wanted to talk to you guys is not as positive whatsoever. The German Federal Office for Information Security has, through a leaked document, of course, revealed that Windows 8 may actually have a backdoor built right in for the NSA to come in and take remote control of your computer. I'm sure you're just as frustrated as I am as you watch your rights be trodden over again and again. And if you're not in the States, you're possibly even more angry because your rights are being trodden over by a country that isn't yours, and you're like, why are you here? Why are you doing this? Why don't we do anything about it? What can we do? They have the biggest military, they have a structure that pretty much prevents change from being possible at this point. But with stuff like this NSA security breach, I'm seeing pushing happening. The citizenry being pushed just a little more every time. And I'm wondering how many more pushes it's going to take before something breaks down ultimately into chaos and anarchy. It's either reform, come clean, and start again with the best of intentions, or watch this giant oligopolistic state fall, which, as their hat, Canada's a little bit scared. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. I'm going to post the article for this NSA Windows 8 thing down below. It just gives you a little more insight into how free market capitalism is a myth, and actually the government and corporations now collaborate for money and information, which then becomes more money. So if you're as angry as I am about all this crap, check it out. See what you think. I've seen a couple responses on my videos where I've talked about this before, where people have just said, well, you know, they're doing it in our best interest. They're gonna spy anyways. Why should we let them? I don't know. Why should we be passive? So the last segment I'm going to include today is Open Comm, which is a Star Trek question of the day. Going right back to Star Trek Renegades, what do you think? Think the prospect of a somewhat dystopian Federation future is something you want to see in a Star Trek series? You're one of the people who funded it while it was on Kickstarter. What was your motivation to do that? What do you want to see in a Star Trek? What are you paying to see? So we covered a lot today. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to think about. If you guys have any questions or you want to know anything else that happened, fire me a message on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I will do my very best to respond as adequately as possible. Oh, by the way, I forgot to welcome you guys to my brand new studio. It's pretty nifty. It's in my parents' basement. I feel like I should start playing WoW again because I'm living in my parents' basement. That's like what you do when you live in your parents' basement. But no, it's actually really awesome. I have a nice little setup down here. I have a record player, which is, oh, the best. Just the best. If you don't have a record player, you should just get a record player. Like, it's just better. Still playing lots of Halo, loving it. Finally settling in here, hence why it took about 2 weeks. I think in the entirety of August, between the Star Trek convention, a wedding, and then being sick, I was actually here functioning, like maybe 5 or 10 days. So I haven't really had the chance to do much. So I'm finally unpacking the very last of my boxes, which feels awesome. I know we're all in a little bit of withdrawal because of Ginger's passing, so there'll be lots of animals, I promise. Oh look! Here's one right now! This must be the Star Trek dog, right? Ready? The Star Trek dog? Awesome. So he's gonna be here, hanging out every now and again. He has only a few things to contribute, mostly cute. So anyways, a lot to think about, a lot to talk about today, but I'm so glad I got to share it with all of you guys. Don't forget to answer the question of the day. What do you think about Star Trek Renegades? If you funded it, what are you hoping to see out of it? Other than that, live long and prosper.